The Tommy Robinson March on central London today sounds like it was very effective and possibly influential. The pics that have been coming in, what I've seen on the news and social media, as well as some videos and photos sent to me from mates who were on the march, and one of my friends who happens to reside in the neighbourhood, are quite interesting and revealing. I'm going to start by sending a big thanks, major shout out to my mate who sent me these videos, who was on the march, who took the time to give me some accurate feedback, what he experienced today, and my other friend who resides in the area, so they took some shots as well, sent me a video. So to those two persons, you know who you are. Big shout out. Thank you very much. Hope you're good, and I'll catch up with you soon as we get into these videos now. Courtesy of two good friends of mine. It appeared that it got quite physical at times in Trafalgar Square, judging on some of what I've seen today on the news. This is the era we are in right now. I mean, globally speaking, on what's happened this week alone in the UK and the US, and the protests that have been going on, particularly in the US, due to the sad news of what happened to Charlie Kirk and his passing. And now we have this major march taking place in London, in central London, which has galvanised a lot of people with strong feelings, largely based around the changing landscape of our country and the failure of numerous governments to seriously do anything about the emigration, I would say, problem, because it's largely framed and described as a problem, and it's an issue that doesn't just affect
Tommy Robinson's long organised march, titled Unite the Kingdom, was accompanied by a side of religion, some people bringing crosses, others dressing like ancient religious orders.
Yeah, it's a Knights Templar.
If you stand for your freedom, lift your voice and shout!
Speeches were opened with a rendition of the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven.
Whoa! Tommy Robinson!
Tommy Robinson, a former BNP member who founded and then left the far-right EDL party, told those assembled here in Whitehall that they were part of a cultural revolution. Police said around 110,000 people attended. Over proceedings today was cast the long shadow of controversial Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk, shot dead while speaking at a Utah university on Tuesday. Of all the people we spoke to, most talked about what they saw as British values and immigration, including this Tory councillor.
And here I am waving my flag on behalf of the British culture and the British nation.
The Conservative leadership and Reform as well have avoided this march because they see Tommy Robinson, Stephen Yaxley Lennon as being too extreme. But you are here. Does that matter?
No, I think on the way here I've met a number of people that are here for the same sort of reasons that I am.
It just seems it's two-sided politics. It's good for them, but we're not allowed to say how we feel when it's our country, and I think we should have some say in it.
And when you say them, who do you mean?
Illegal immigrants. We've got nothing against the immigrants, the legal ones, but the illegal ones get everything.
Across town, counter-protesters from Stand Up to Racism, led by figures from the left and trade unions, described this rally as a far-right festival of hate.
I feel that it's really important to use any opportunity for us all to stand together against this awful rise of the right wing and fascism generally. And I feel really angry that the government is doing absolutely nothing to counteract it or say anything against it.
More than 1,000 officers were deployed, but despite policing a sterile area between the two groups, the Met said crowds of Unite the Kingdom protesters had breached it in multiple locations, trying to get to the Stand Up to Racism protesters, some attacking officers with projectiles. Police chiefs have warned of a climate of increasing tension and polarity this summer, with community leaders spreading misinformation, they say, on social media, adding those in positions of power must think about how to reduce tension. The power of words, something so often disputed from all sides.
It's worth remembering that large swathes, the majority of the country, geographically speaking, is or can't be described as multicultural. You could describe it as being monocultural. It still has traditional inhabitants, and it doesn't really have large amounts of integration. And a large swathe of the land is uninhabited. It's still nature. So I guess it's not really how we think, because we think on the basis of centralization and built up urban cosmopolitan areas, and that's what I think people are referring to when they talk specifically about multiculturalism, etc.
Thousands of people are expected to descend on central London today for rival demonstrations. Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom march will move from Stamford Street to Whitehall, featuring speeches from Jordan Peterson and Katie Hopkins, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk in the US certain to be discussed prominently. Meanwhile, a counter march, the Stand Up to Racism's March Against Fascism, will also take place very close by. So I fear that trouble will happen. But why are people taking to the streets? Why are they so angry? And let's have a look at Tommy Robinson in particular. What do we know about this guy? What is his nature? What is his motivation? Who is Tommy Robinson? Is he a fearless patriot, giving a voice to millions of people, or a dangerous thug that seeks only division? Let's get the views of one of my favourite writers and broadcasters, Charlie Bentley Astor. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, that was very kind.
Well, listen, you're a brilliant writer, and you've written on a range of important cultural subjects that affect the country, including the grooming gangs scandal, in which you've been extremely courageous and very, very thorough and tenacious as well. What about this march today? First of all, why do you think people are going on this Unite the Kingdom march? Why are they so angry?
Stop risking your own money trading. Instead, discover how to access up to one.
They're angry because their cultural identity, and in some cases their ethnic identity, if you're English, is being dismissed and undermined, most of all by the state. I think everyone can tolerate a bit of difference when they're out and about in society. That's just the nature of living in the multicultural nation that we now do. But when you have ministers, members of Parliament, you have even the police sort of saying, no, your identity is obtrusive, it's insulting or intimidating, and people who are like, well, I just miss the days of having a country fair and talking about St George and, you know, flying the Union flag and singing Rule Britannia. I don't know when that became a quote unquote fascist symbol. What are you talking about? I'm just here to demonstrate my pride in my history. And of course, Britain has like any country, a varied history, but we have lots to be proud of. And people rightly want to come out and celebrate who they are, as anyone from any other country does.
I believe anyone who chooses to stand up for a particular cause has the right to take that position and stance. And generally, in front of a movement, the head of a movement, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be that person. And if they decide to carry that baton, then you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly associated to them. Behind that individual, the image that's going to be painted and built up in the public mainstream, media was portrayed. You're always going to have a person, a regular person. There's always going to be a level of humanity built into that. So, yeah, I don't buy into just one portrayal of any leading public figure, including Tommy Robinson.
Because Tommy Robinson isn't the devil that a lot of people construe him as. There was definitely a kind of association with him that over the years, maybe it's because he's cooled a bit, is certainly become unwarranted. There's always a very eclectic group of people at these marches. I've been to some. People there united by their country, and using that banner of nationhood to undermine any other differences that we have. And so you'll see a very eclectic group of people there today, and Tommy Robinson is very pleased about that. He's always been very open about the fact that he wants this to be anyone can come. There is no barrier. Even if you're skeptical, come along, find out what we're about. But of course, Tommy does have a checkered past. He has had run-ins with the police. He's been very open about that he was a very hot-headed young man, grew up in Bradford, I believe, Luton, and saw lots of issues with the intense Muslim population there at the time. It's one of the first high-density Muslim populations that brought integration troubles and community tensions, and he's been very open about that and his experiences with that. And he is a very emotional person. Well, it's very easy for people like you or I to sort of sit on high on TV and go, oh, well, of course, I agree with the movement, but I don't really agree with the approach. And that's certainly true in some instances of the things that he's done. But he's also gone out and done the thing which no one else has been willing to do, which is sort of stick their neck out to say, actually, these grooming gangs are a significant issue. Actually, I think we should rally together and have a public march demonstrating our love of nation. There's very few people out there who are actually doing anything more than tweeting online. And that's something that actually a lot of people admire and can get behind.
My belief has always been that, to an extent, some of this drive to take such a great risk to reach the UK and the huge number of migrants and immigrants has definitely some causal link with the conflicts and what's going on in other distant countries and all of these wars and stuff that's happening in the global economy. I mean, if people were satisfied and comfortable and happy where they live, why are they going to want to get up sticks and take such a risk? And also, for many, spend such a huge amount of money to pay to be trafficked from one part of the globe to the other, and there's no guarantee of success with these one-way tickets neither. So it's something that can't be looked at, considered in I'd say a flippant way. Although how we hear it described on legacy media and even social media, some of the commentators, I mean, every side generally tends to have its own motive, call it ulterior motive or otherwise. And I'll also say the theme often gets hijacked and gets tied in with something else. It's a sad testament that, some of the commentators are also on their own journey of self-interest, whether you use Farage or members of some of the members of the Reform Party as examples. People are building careers for themselves. They're building names for themselves. Some people are financially benefiting from their activism. And it's just a shame and sad where genuine causes are being co-opted for, personal reasons. At the end of the day, how far can I go to criticize that? Because that's part of human nature. That's the drive of the human mechanism, you could say, self-interest. And that's something, strangely enough, that's shared, you could say, from politician to activist to ordinary individual and right back to the immigrants. Everyone's trying to look out for their own personal interests and finding ways to place themselves in the best position possible or an improved position. So bringing it back to today's major show of force, you could say, a protest and group activism with the march to central London. I'm framing it as the Tom Robinson March because he's the known figurehead at the top of this particular part of the protest. And he's also the one that you see speaking to Elon Musk on the big screen when they were in Trafalgar Square, as Elon Musk chimed in. Now, Elon, I for the last couple of years with Trump being elected, I've viewed him as a type of a kingmaker, and when the relationship kind of ran its public course in terms of him and Donald Trump being besties, and then they parted ways to an extent that was obvious to everybody, when he was asked to leave the White House, or his time ran its course, and he returned to his businesses, maybe reluctantly to an extent. Seemed to enjoy his time at the White House, being as effective as he could. So when that took place, I believe, he doesn't want to not have a leading presence in the global political arena. He's tasted it, been part of it, and been effective to an extent at the highest level, as far as, being stationed in the White House with the DOJ campaign. And the thing is, I see him as somebody who still wants to be a kingmaker in one shape or another. And now the focus isn't built on Donald Trump and the White House and the Republicans. It's kind of moved almost like at a slight loose end, as though he's looking for another major cause to place himself, I wouldn't even say in the shadows of, but, to be part of steering that cause to, a more prominent place. So he's always had some type of a connection, at least in the last year or so, with what's going on over here. He's made comments which upset the US government at one point. He's made comments about Starmer, comments about Farage. So he hasn't always been a friend to everyone. And having such a loud, controlling voice on social media, being the owner of X, you can't not but hear when Elon speaks. So the fact that he's made comments to do with this recent protest and march, some may say they're subtly putting in the inciting direction, because the word, I think, fight or something alludes to that as being firmly placed in the statements and comments he's made. So, I'll leave that to the viewer to decide where they think he falls within all of that. I'll still be labeling him as the subtle kingmaker for now, I'll say, because it's debatable to what an extent, besides of being the richest man in the world, he can have impact on people's positions of power in these different political arenas. It's definitely going to be a space to watch what happens with this growing movement over here in the UK, the George Cross and English flag as the main logos representing the beliefs behind the activism. These clips show you some accurate depictions of the mood of the day, the vibe, the feelings and the images, and I'll let you make of it what you will. Again, I'm going to leave you with a message from today's video sponsors, who are elite artists who take care of your entertainment needs. They can provide you with a live band, solo pianist, even if you just want a single violinist playing at your wedding reception, or you have a bar or venue, you need musicians to entertain your audience. Get in touch with them. They'll take care of everything.
Elite artists have been bringing people together in pubs across the country since 2010. Indie, pop, jazz, Motown, soul, classic rock. Solos, duos, trios and bigger bands. Added to the roster by audition only. Search Elite Artists on the App Store or Google Play today.
And I'll be back with you sometime later on this story, on this topic, and definitely on other breaking news and relevant, culturally relevant talking points. Being here as usual with myself, Onurade at CornerSpeak. Be good, be safe, be creative. I'm out. Oh, don't forget, like videos, leave your comments. I always respond to every comment. Definitely want to hear your point of view. I thrive on sometimes a different perspective. So don't be shy, give it a try. Drop something in the comments. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Once again, myself here at CornerSpeak, I'm out.